UFC 310. Let's get right into the predictions. Kennedy Nizichukwu versus Lucas Brzeski. Ooh, Lucas Brzeski is not very good. He had a decent win against Walter Walker, but I mean that's literally it. Ever since he popped for steroids right after the Contender Series, he has been terrible. Lost to basically everyone. Four losses and one win against Walter Walker. Again, Walter Walker did not look good. Looked really bad that fight. And we got Kennedy Nzechukwu, who is actually decent. I mean, he's way better than his opponent this fight. Brzezinski's not very good at all. Kennedy is good on the feet, obviously. He had a couple of iffy fights against some bad opponents. But again, when he's against very low level guys, he seems to be able to get it done. Like recently he fought Chris Barnett, and I think he's coming off of that training camp into this fight. So I think he's going to be a lot more prepared than he was previously, just because these training camps are basically falling into one another. So I think he's going to go out there and probably knock out Brzezinski in like the second round, maybe even the first. Um, he's very good at keeping his range. He's just a very good boxer overall. Tall guy. I just think he's a way better fighter, but this is not too good of a fight. But yeah, I'm going Kennedy Nzechukwu versus by second round knockout. Next up on this card, we got Clay Guida versus Chase Hooper. I love you, Clay Guida, but I'm sorry, Chase Hooper will sub you probably in the second round. Clay Guida is a brawler, obviously, and I just think the technicality of Chase Hooper will be able to, mask the brawl of Clay Guida. I mean, this fight again, this is actually really weird. I don't know why this fight's happening, but shout out to Clay Guida. Hopefully he retires soon. But at least this fight he won't be taking too much damage, I assume. But yeah, Chase Hooper by like first or second round submission. It might take him a little bit to settle in. But yeah, I think the volume of Chase Hooper on the feet is just going to be able to, touch Clay Guida and not let him get on the inside to throw some big hooks or just some crazy shots that'll catch Chase Hooper. Yeah, I think Chase Hooper might have some difficulty shooting for the takedown just because of Clay Guida is very compact. But again, I don't see that causing too much of an issue. Clay Guida is older. So yeah, I think Chase Hooper is just way more technical, obviously. So Chase Hooper by first or second round submission. Mm, early second round submission, I think. Early second round. All right, now here we got Michael Chiesa versus Max Griffin. I've seen a lot of people going with Chiesa. I'm sorry, Chiesa hasn't won a fight in like 4 years, like a real fight. I get it, he beat Tony Ferguson and didn't even look too good there, to be honest. I get it, Chiesa's been fighting, higher ranked opponents, better guys. But again, I think Max Griffin, he actually one thing I wanted to point out was Max Griffin had a recent fight against Miles Morales. Did I just call him Miles Morales? Yeah, it's way too late for me to be recording this video. Michael Morales, and he actually survived to a decision. Again, not the greatest performance. Obviously, was a loss, but yeah, I think Max Griffin will beat Chiesa probably by decision. But he might even drop Chiesa. I think he's just gonna beat him by decision, probably just outpoint him a little bit. Chiesa's not gonna be able to get his takedowns off, and I'm have a feeling Max Griffin's just gonna do better overall. Again, Chiesa hasn't really had any high level wins in years and years and years, and I think he did not look good for that Tony Ferguson fight. It's gonna be an easier fight um, than his others that he actually lost. But I don't think it's easy enough. I think, when they're feeding Tony Ferguson, Chiesa, it's like, dude, okay, this is like the one guy you have a chance at beating. So let me put you in there against him and maybe you can win. He didn't do it. So, I mean, if the UFC thinks so low of you that Tony Ferguson might be able to beat you right now, yeah, I'm sorry. You're not going to win any other fights going forward. And Chiesa will lose by decision. I'm pretty excited for actually. We got Cody Durden versus Joshua Van. I'm going with Joshua Van, and I'm pretty confident in it. The way Joshua Van, his striking, he'll just go into a brawl. He'll obviously just brawl with you, and I just think he's a lot crisper than Cody Durden is. And this is at flyweight, right? Let me make sure. Yeah, this is at flyweight. Cody Durden is, I wouldn't even call him like a gatekeeper. There's no fucking gatekeepers in that division. Ugh. Ugh. Charles Johnson, obviously, knocked out Van in that one fight. And that was a little rough to see, but we saw what Charles Johnson went to do after that. I'm still going to go with Joshua Van. Very crisp striking. I think he made the improvements he needed. And I think he's going to go in there and brawl. And I think he might even be able to get a finish late round three. Joshua Van knockout. That'd be nice. But I think he's a young fighter, made some more improvements in his game, like I said. And he's going to go in there and get a knockout win. Big name in the flyweight division will be coming up soon. And his name is Joshua Van. Excited to see. But yeah, third round knockout, Joshua Van. We got Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders. This is a rebooked fight that seems to be a catchweight. Not sure what weight that catchweight will be. But as I stated before, I don't see Chris Weidman winning anymore, and I don't want him to win. Unless he eye pokes Eric Anders, I don't think he has a shot. I mean, obviously he always has a shot, but Eric Anders is not a good fighter. I apologize for even saying that, but can he play tit for tat with Chris Weidman? Yeah, I think he can. I think on the feet, he's going to be able to just land a couple more cleaner strikes. Probably, I don't even think he'll crack Chris Weidman. I think this is going to be kind of a bad fight. Only thing that worries me is that Eric Anders pulled out his last fight the day before. I heard because he had food poisoning. Again, I'm not really sure if that's true or not, but that's just what I heard. Again, I don't think that's probably affecting him anymore, but I'm a little worried if he had issues with the weight cut and maybe that's what happened. But again, this is at catch weight, so it should be a little better for him. Yeah, on the feet, I think he's just going to be able to land the cleaner strikes, probably land the heavier strikes is what I'd go with. Not even the cleaner, just do the most damage. Really, just do more damage. So yeah, Chris. A lot of these fights, I hate doing this, but it's like, do I think a fighter's gonna win, or do I just think the other fighter's gonna lose? And it's like I just really think the other fighter's gonna lose. And it's like you look at his opponent, and it's like, ugh, I wouldn't even pick this guy to beat anyone. But it's like, yeah, Chris Weidman. Yeah, I think Chris Weidman's gonna lose. So it's like Eric Anders again. He's not too high level of a fighter, but this isn't too high level of a fight. So we got a little interesting matchmaking going on throughout these early prelims. We got some that are relatively close below level, and then we got some very lopsided fights. But let's see how these play out. But yeah, Eric Anders by decision. Close 29-28 probably. Brian Battle versus Randy Brown. I personally like Randy Brown a lot, but Brian Battle's been on a tear, and I think he's going to keep that momentum going. Randy Brown is a tall guy, not too long of a reach like I thought he was. But again, I think Brian Battle's just a more well rounded fighter, and I think hits a lot harder than Randy Brown. Randy Brown hasn't been fighting, the best opponents as of recent since his loss to JDM in the first round where he just got, dominated. Since then, hasn't really, had he's fought pretty good, I'll be honest. But Brian Battle's strength of schedule is a lot better, you know, and he's just looked a lot better in all of his fights. So I'm gonna go with Brian Battle probably by like late round two knockout. Yeah, I can see Brian Battle late round two knockout, all the volume. Randy Brown's gonna gas because all the pressure, and Brian Battle's gonna put him away. Mozar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling. This one right now, I'm pretty confident about this. At first, I really wasn't, and I was like, "Oh, Aljamain Sterling's a good fighter himself." But then I realized I'm gonna have to go with Mosval. I'm going with Evloev. Aljo's not too good at shooting takedowns, to be honest. I don't think on the ground. Obviously, once he gets on your back, he's gonna be an issue, but when you have a guy like, Evloev, he's gonna be a lot better at preventing, a back take. These Russian guys, the way they wrestle is a lot different than everyone else, in case you guys haven't noticed. Their balance is very well. Their balance is very good, and I don't see him giving up his back or, rolling into something dumb where Aljo's able to take his back. Aljo's takedown percentage is low, and Mozart Evloev's takedown defense is good. So I think it's just gonna be Evloev's just gonna kinda do what he wants on the ground. I think it's gonna be a lot of shooting takedowns and him just laying on top of Aljo, and I don't see Aljo really getting too much off on the feet. You look back to a fight, like Evloev against, Diego Lopez, and you see, maybe he has a couple issues on the ground, but that wasn't really in the wrestling of the fight. It was more in the jujitsu, and we saw he did not tap. He did not tap to anything. So that just kind of showed me that he's going to be very resilient on the ground and he's going to be able to take whatever Aljamain comes at him with and just smudge it and just work his way out of it, control the fight. And yeah, I think he's going to get a decision just by laying on Aljo. Gonna suck, but hey, it is what it is. I A lot of people are gonna go with, "Oh, when you have 2 people who fight in this similar style, it's gonna be a standing fight." But I just think Evloev's way better. He's a way better wrestler than Aljo. Sad to say, I really believe that. So I think he's still gonna shoot for the takedowns, and he's just tough on the ground. So, yep, Evloev by decision. We got Vicente Luque versus Themba Garembo. This is another one that I'm not a fan of. Vicente Luque. Luque is a good fighter, but right now, ever since that brain issue he had and the way he lost his last fight against Buckley, it's gonna be tough to pick him. I know he's young, but I think he should retire and just kind of. I don't know if he can, but keep his mystique or his kind of legend intact. I think Demba Gurumbo is going to win this. I don't want Demba Gurumbo to win, but again, I just think this is another fight that he's going to be able to control Vicente Luque in. And I think Luque is not going to really have the answers. Vicente Luque hasn't really had a good win in too long, in a while. I think he's a way different fighter than he was before, sad to say. So I'm gonna go with Themba Gurumbo. He's been more active. This is kind of a big step up in competition, but again, I don't think Luque is who he was at one time. Themba Gurumbo's gonna get the takedowns, probably land maybe more on the feet, maybe not. But I think overall he'll be able to dictate where this fight goes, being more active. I think he's probably even gonna be in better shape. And this is a big switch up from Nick Diaz. Vicente Luque is training to fight Nick Diaz, someone who's not going to shoot any takedowns, and now he's fighting Themba Gurumbo. Big difference. Big difference. Big skill difference. Big everything difference. So, it's sad to say, but yeah, I'm going with Themba Gurumbo. Probably by decision or maybe like a late submission. Maybe he just pulls one out of his ass, but most likely by decision. I hope Luque gets out of this and he's okay. That's really what I'm worried about. This fight, Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith, this is for pound number one right here. Whoever wins this is going to be pound for pound number one over John Jones, over Islam. And I think it's going to be Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes got a little unlucky recently, but I think he actually showed a little bit of skill in his last fight. Just a glimpse of skill. No, I'm joking. He showed that he's still a fighter. Anthony Smith, notoriously on this channel. I mean, probably the only other time he's ever fought this year that I predicted. Or I think I picked him against Vitor Petrino. Anthony Smith's not going to win. He's not going to win. Dominic Reyes is not some like novice guy who hasn't been in the octagon with fighters like Anthony Smith before. He's not going to go out there and make the same mistake Vitor Petrino made. He's just not going to be dumb. And I think that's really all you need to do to be Anthony Smith is not be dumb. Don't do anything stupid and don't be unlucky. Dominic Reyes has been unlucky in the past, but I don't think he will be. I think he's gonna fucking kill Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith can't take a shot like he used to, and I think Dominic Reyes is gonna land some big shots and probably put Anthony Smith out in the first. I'm gonna go second round. Anthony Smith can take a couple shots, but just the way he reacts after he gets hit sometimes is like, ugh. So I think it might be a combination of the damage he's received from the first round and then a couple big shots to kind of just like push him over and he'll just be out of there. This fight is one of the fights. I'm actually kind of glad this is happening. This is a very good time for this fight to happen in both of their careers. Like right now, I couldn't see a better matchup for both of them. Like I know it's like, oh, everyone thinks Dominic Reyes is going to win, and it's Anthony Smith, Dominic Reyes in 2024, almost 2025. But this is a glimpse of hope for Reyes. If Reyes can get back on track, who knows what he'll be? He's only 34 years old. You know, who knows what he can do with his career if he turns it around, just works up the rankings a little bit. If he wins this, he can maybe get a couple more wins, maybe even be ranked early next year. I don't see him going too far in the division, but I'll stop the rambling about the most random fucking fight on this card. Reyes is going to get him out of there early round two, late round one. That's my prediction. Nate the Train versus Dooho Choi, the Korean Superboy. This is going to be a good fight. This has to be a good fight. Um, Nate Landwehr is somebody who notoriously puts on wars and will just go out there and just do whatever. He gets hit, he gets dropped, he gets up. But I think Dooho Choi, the Korean Superboy, this is his time to shine. I mean, at one time he was a very highly stouted prospect. Everyone thought he was going to be massive in this division, but after a couple losses and being inactive for a little bit, he wasn't looking too good. And then he comes back. When was that fight? How recent? It was earlier this year against Bill Algeo, and he actually knocks him out, which is decently impressive. He looked pretty good in that fight. And I actually think since Landwehr has been, a little chinny previously, he gets dropped a lot, but he always gets right back up. But I think the Korean Superboy has different power. I think he's going to be able to put Nate Landwehr out cold. And maybe it'll even be an early stoppage where he drops Nate Landwehr and Nate Landwehr is like limp, but kind of gets right back up and they call it early. But I just really believe in the striking of Dooho Troy. I think he's probably improved, and coming off of this win after all those losses in a row, I think it's sprouted something in him where he's going to feel like, oh, I can finally do it. After you take a lot of losses like that, when all the pressure's on you, everyone's going to think you're going to be something massive, and you go out there and lose and lose and lose and lose, and then all of a sudden you get back one win. I think he's going to start to get this momentum going again. He's still young, 33, I think. He's going to be able to keep this ball rolling after he finishes Nate Landwehr in phenomenal fashion. But regardless of what happens this fight, I think it's gonna be a war. But I'm going with Detroit by like third round knockout. I think probably second round knockout, early second round knockout. Because I think Nate Landwehr might get dropped in the first. But yeah, Dooho Choi has good striking, very good on the feet, and he has power. And I think it's going to be some power that Nate Landwehr can't really, weather the storm of. After all this damage he's taken over time, I think it's just about time or something like this happens. He meets the guy who finally has enough power to put him out. And I'm not even saying like Dooho Choi is like the most powerful fighter, but it's just all that damage he's received over these wars and wars and wars that he's had. I think this will be the one that puts him out. Sad to say. Shout out Nate the Train, but I'm gonna have to go with the Korean Superboy on this one. What is going on? Kron Gracie versus Bryce Mitchell. Kron Gracie is terrible. Bryce Mitchell will win. Probably even knock Kron Gracie out. Or Kron Gracie will just like lay on the ground, maybe even be a boring decision. But I mean, Bryce Mitchell just might chin him. That'd be kind of funny. Like he just knocks out Kron Gracie. Now, again, shit fight. Kron Gracie's gonna fucking embarrass everybody. Like everyone's gonna feel embarrassed for him by just watching this fight. I don't think he's gonna get subbed, but I do think Bryce Mitchell's just gonna beat him on the ground and probably just beat him on the feet and just outpoint him the whole time. And whenever Kron Gracie feel hurt, he'll just go down to his back. Maybe Bryce Mitchell will go down after him, but maybe not. I think this is a good fight for Bryce Mitchell, though. I know it's kind of dumb, but since he was killed, I really thought he died his last fight. This is a great bounce back. This is somebody who does not know how to throw a punch, so this should be good. Bryce Mitchell won't be in there and getting hit at all, most likely. Unless Kron Gracie just comes back and he's like an actual MMA fighter, no chance. Yeah, Bryce Mitchell probably win it by decision. I don't think he's gonna get a finish, but I think this is gonna be a shit fight, to be honest. Maybe there'll be a couple cool scrambles, but I doubt it. Probably a shit point fighting fight from Bryce Mitchell. But it'd be good to get him back on track after that devastating loss. And wait a minute. Who did he lose to last time? This is gonna be my time where I'm gonna fucking rant about this shit. Who did he fight last? Because I could have sworn somebody got like a very good highlight reel KO over him like a year ago, 2 years ago, a year ago at this point. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, he did. It was Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett hasn't fought since. What is going? Josh Emmett, you're 39. What are you doing? Are you kidding me? That's the fucking part that pisses me off about this whole thing. Is that how is Josh Emmett the guy who this guy died and was resurrected and came back and he's back before you, Josh Emmett, and you're on the tail end of your career. Josh Emmett, that was your chance. Again, I don't know if he was injured or something happened after, but I saw him sparring a couple months ago. How are you going to let Bryce Mitchell come back before you when you were the one that almost killed him? I don't understand that. That really pisses me off out of everything. I was gonna make a whole video about that, but I didn't, and I included the rant in here. Anyways, yeah, Bryce Mitchell, boring ass fight decision. On to the next one. We got Ciryl Gane versus Volkov. I actually really enjoy this fight. I think this is gonna be a good fight. I'm going with Ciryl Gane, but here's the caveat. Alexander Volkov is having a second wind, in case you guys haven't noticed. Um, that Sergey Pavlovich win was very good and very impressive. But I'm gonna have to say the only reason why I'm not going with him, one is because that Sergey was after he got chinned by Tom Aspinall, so I don't know if maybe he's a little more hesitant, which it didn't really seem like it in the fight. But who knows how Sergey's gonna go after that? And the fact that this fight already happened and Ciryl Gane won. I think Ciryl Gane's striking didn't go anywhere after he had that loss to Jones and after he's taken all these breaks. I think his striking's still there. His technicality at heavyweight is really what wins him the fights. It's not really about his power, it's more about his speed. When he's fighting somebody that's 6'7", but he has a longer reach than him, I don't think he's gonna have any issues. I don't think he's not gonna have to be punching up on him or anything like that, and even if he does, I don't think it's gonna make too big of a difference. I think he's gonna be very technical and just pick apart Volkov this fight. If this is 5 rounds, I'd pick him to probably get a finish this time, but I think he's just gonna pick apart Volkov, and Volkov's not gonna be able to get in and do much damage to him. He might try and exploit the wrestling, but I hope Ciryl has practiced that over since his last fight, not his last, but the one before that against Jones where he just shit the bed completely. But yeah, I'm gonna go Ciryl. He's still a good striker. I don't care what anyone says. He's quick. He's quick, and I think he's a issue for everyone in the division. And I think the only issue Volkov would have with the fighter is really against Ciryl and probably Tom Aspinall, maybe Jones. But I think besides that, Volkov's good. So kind of sucks that this is the matchup he gets. I think he even if he wins this, I think he's good to go after that. I think it opens up endless opportunities of free wins for him. But I think this one's going to be very difficult, and I'm going to go with Sorogan probably by decision. I don't see him like rushing in or anything like that. I see Volkov just kind of getting stuck on the outside, not being able to do too much when you got a dynamic striker like Sorogan. So Sorogan by decision. We got the boy Shakivac, Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Machado. I'm calling him Ian Machado today. Ooh, another tough one. Another fight where I was gonna go with Ian, but the idea that he was supposed to fight Joaquin Buckley, in a couple of weeks or a week after this fight, and it's kind of pushed forward to fight Shavkat. It's like, Shavkat, little different of a fighter than Joaquin Buckley, but I don't think Shavkat's really that good. That sounds crazy, but Shavkat, I don't think he's that good on the ground. I think he's kind of average on the ground, and decent on the feet, and I think Ian Gary's better on the feet than Shavkat. And I believe Ian Gary's ground game has improved. I know he showed it improved against MVP, but that's MVP. I think since that fight, he's probably continued to work on it because I bet that's how he was going to try and fight Buckley. I think he was probably going to take down Buckley. Probably stand a little bit and then just shoot the takedowns and get some control. Maybe go for a couple submissions just because it was a long fight, and I could see him wanting to mix it up to just give Buckley something to think about. But this fight against Shavkat, I don't think he's going to be well prepared enough for Shavkat. Shavkat just mixes the martial arts a little bit better than Ian Gary. I think on the feet, Shavkat's going to be able to get in close and land some nice strikes. And I think he's going to be pressuring Ian Gary, and we'll see how good Ian Gary is off the back foot. I know he has some crisp striking, but uh, you got to go with Shavkat. It's just painful because I don't think Shavkat's as good as he seems. But again, he's never really fought anyone too good. And I know neither has Ian Gary really. And oh, Jeff Neal almost killed Shavkat, but he didn't. He didn't kill Shavkat. Shavkat still finished him. So it wasn't like a robbery win that he had. It was like, oh, he got rocked a couple times and still came back to win. Um, I think Jeff Neal hits very fucking hard, and I think Ian Gary will lose to Jeff Neal. I'm getting too far ahead. Um, I, I'm going with Shavkat. This might be the first fight he doesn't get a finish in. Um, I forgot that I'm doing like a full prediction thing where I have to say how he wins. I don't even know if Shavkat gets a finish. And if he does, it's going to be late. Um, Ian Gary's submission defense is probably going to be pretty good. I'm going to go with the round three knockout for Shavkat. Round three knockout. I think he's just going to put the pressure on Ian Gary, and we're going to see what these two guys are really made out of. And I know Shavkat's shown some grit in his past fight, so I think when it really comes down to biting down and getting into it, Shavkat's going to be able to do it. Probably have Ian Gary up close, land a couple elbows, or just throw some big winging shots that just drop Ian Gary and finishes him off with some grounded pound. That's how I could see it ending, grounded pound. I don't think he'll like flush knock Ian Gary out, but I could see him winning in that way. Oddly enough, if I was putting money down, which I'm not, I'm staying away from this fight because this is a who knows. This is two guys who haven't really been tested too much going up against each other, and that's really what their O's mean. Their O's mean that they haven't been tested, and we'll see who wins this. But yeah, I'm going Shavkat third round knockout. Odd pick, but hey, that's what I'm all about. Well, look who it is. If it isn't the two people who are holding the belt warm for Manel Cap, Kaya Sakura versus Alexandre Pantoja versus Kaya Sakura. Okay, listen. Kaya Sakura, I'm sorry. I don't think you're gonna win, buddy. Pantoja is not chinny at all. He can take a shot. And the one issue I had, I think it was against Royval when he was like walking around with his hands on his hips, just getting like hit in the face and somehow like surviving and still throwing back. It's never a good look when you have somebody putting pressure on you like that. But again, one thing I'd like to point out is two mutual opponents that they've had, which is Manel, the GOAT, Manel Cap, who actually fought Kaiosakura twice over in Risen, knocked him out one of the times, and then I think he lost a split decision or it was unanimous, whatever it was. It was not a Kaiosakura win. Kaiosakura really lost that fight. Manel Cap won. So yeah, and we had Pantoja who fought again. Manel Cap kind of just edged out the decision a little bit more decisively than Asakura did, way more decisively. Again, I think it was still a very close fight, but I mean, I think the other fight, Manel Cap actually won. Kaya Sakura is good beating up on the people that aren't too good. Pantoja just ran through this division against the best multiple times when he was unranked, when he was ranked, when he was a champion. I mean, he's ran laps around this division. I think some new blood like this is just what he needs. I think this fight might have, interested him into training more. It's kind of difficult when you're running around the division, just kind of wiping everyone out. I think he's going to get this fight done. I think he probably finishes Kaya Sakura. Pantoja is known for, just kind of holding on for dear life sometimes, but we can't forget who he was at one point in the UFC. He is somebody that gets submission, like he's a finisher. Like I know it seems like as recently he hasn't been getting too many finishes. He's a finisher. I think he's gonna put Kai Sakura out. I don't think Kai Sakura is gonna be able to put up with the volume and just the amount of, the volume that Pantoja's gonna come at him with. I think the wrestling is gonna be a big issue. I think the back takes, I think all that stuff's just gonna drain Kai Sakura. I don't see him getting submitted or anything like that, but I just see him getting so tired that Pantoja just pours on so many shots that he winds up getting finished late round 4, maybe round 5. Pantoja finish after, you know, closely winning most of the rounds, just doing a little bit more damage. But yeah, I could see him getting Kaisakura out of there, who's just tired and wants to leave. So yeah, that's my full 310 predictions. Like, comment, subscribe. Shit on me in the comments when my predictions do bad. Please, I really appreciate that. Thank you guys. Bye.